Hello, guys.
Howdy.
Hey, hi.
Good riding.
Always fun with Tom and Jim. We're talking with Tom and Jim. I'm your host, Jeff Greenwald. Obviously, Tom Goldrup, Jim Goldrup are up there. We wouldn't be here without them. To my right or left, however this comes out, around in the squares, is our one of our producers, Dan Dye. Daniel, welcome, and you're filling in for Matthew Rose, and I appreciate it. And so thank you for being here, and I'm a little nervous that you're in front of the camera, and I don't quite trust on things that'll come out of your mouth, but we'll see how this runs. But anyway,
I'll use my ears instead of my mouth today, or at least I'll try.
Usually we have him muted. But welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
Not going to complain.
Might get a little bit of rain tonight, which we need, so that's nice.
I wanted to start off. You guys asked. Well, you didn't ask me. I'm going to ask you. You guys were mentioning. We made a little joke about this, and it was funny because we both had the same joke in our head. You guys earlier were mentioning when I talked to you last, George Wallce, and of course I'm thinking the politician George Wallce, and I'm about ready to make some joke about a George. How often do you make a George Wallce joke, by the way? Like, oh yeah, remember him? He wasn't vice president, and Taft was. No, not Taft. Truman. And I was like, ha 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 ha. Like, no one. What? Anyway, so but I was thinking that in my head, and then you said, and when you're looking him up, it's not the politician George Wallce. So I will share that right off the bat. I don't know how we both came up with that, because in 2022, how obscure is that? 80 years later, but George Wallce, that kicked off a whole topic of George Wallce. So with that, George Wallce, it's all yours.
George Wallce, an American actor, not politician. He did a bunch of work in LA. He was in Forbidden Planet and a lot of those kind of films. And then he went off to Broadway, and he had 5 years on Broadway doing musicals. They didn't know he could sing, and they found out he could sing, and he got 5 years of musicals. But talking about
it's like
theater,
he got in prison. He got 5 years in musicals. He learned he could sing, and he got 5 years in musicals.
George said one thing about theater. He said, like, he's back in New York. You rehearse about 4 weeks, then you go off and you open in Boston or Philadelphia or somewhere, and then come back to Broadway. And he said, you get to know everybody so well. If one of the people hurt their big toe, you're going to know it. If someone got their girlfriend pregnant, you're going to know it. He said, your family. And that's one of the things I really love about theater. It's a family. I mean, the first time I got to work with you guys in Golden Crow Theater, Becky invited me to come and audition. I was in a play with her, and I said, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about retiring, which was a stupid thought. And she talked me into coming, and I got into it. And then we did other plays, and we went on to Rabbit Ears with a lot of the same people. And it's family. I love theater. I mean, that's why in the play that just closed, One Floor of the Cuckoo's Nest, that I was in back in 2020, I didn't audition for the part. The director asked me if I would play a character. He's really part of the furniture. He doesn't have any lines. He's lobotomized. He's in a wheelchair. But if I would just be there to add the atmosphere. And I said, okay. I owed him a favor. He interviewed Jim and I before we did the Last Bell movie showing at a movie that we did at the Park Hall. And he cast me in some other plays. And so I did it as a favor. And what I really enjoy is the camaraderie among theater people. I mean, it's such a close group, and I love being with theater people. It becomes a family, just like what you said. Robert Knapp said.
Oh,
another actor.
He worked in a number of jobs besides acting. After he got out of acting, he was in real estate, in the banking, and he said, of all the professions he's been in, the greatest group of people he's found were people in the arts.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for not calling us carnies.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about carnies, one of the actors we interviewed, a guy named Bradley Page, he did films back in the 30s, but before that, in the 20s, he was doing theater, and they were going across Canada doing stops in various towns. And
people would take the clothes in off the clothesline, everything.
yeah, and heard the actors are coming to town, the clothes would come off the clothesline and everything else. So maybe they were a little more carnies back in those days. I don't know, but yeah.
I heard Charlie Chaplin came up with the character for the Tramp just pulling costumes off stuff that was just too large for him, and then he just kind of walked on set, and that's what started it. That's what I heard, anyways. I'm curious, what's your thought about like your experience with like that transition? You mentioned that this person was an actor, but they started kind of more on the carny side, and because I've seen like with films, I when I watch it, I remember a lot of vaudeville, a lot of those types of, and you can kind of see it where as things are moving into film, I can kind of see some of the vaudevillian techniques in the films, and then it kind of adapts over time. Did you have any experience with that as films were kind of evolving?
Well, we know people that have acted in the old tent shows and in vaudeville and all that. Tap, tap on my window. Does that mean that you are still in love with me? The old vaudeville stuff. And but I've never had experience doing vaudeville myself. I would love.
You almost did.
There we go.
We'll do a vaudeville. When I got stranded in San Diego, and you almost had to go on for me. You remember that when you almost had to sing the opening number to the show, the Potato Potato. You were this close to your big vaudeville breakout.
Oh, I'll get you into vaudeville. That's next. I'll get a melodrama going.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'll come up to Portland and be in it.
Nice.
I have a quick question because none of this has anything to do with my question, but I'll forget. Long time ago, and you'll have to correct me because I'm probably going to have some of this information wrong. But long ago, you guys told me a story about how you were almost on the
dating game. The dating game.
Yeah,
you want to tell that one?
we both can. We made up names.
We made up names.
Well, what year was this, by the way? Just what year?
1969. It's when we were down in that when we first went down to Hollywood.
Was that normal to make up names to go on the dating show?
Bartolot.
And I was James Bartolot.
We were penniless English counts, although England really didn't have a count, we found out. But
and
we auditioned on Dating Game.
yeah, they asked us, the questions, and
we put on an English accent, and
we heard them discussing. They couldn't quite determine if we were real.
If we were telling the truth. I mean, penniless English counts. I mean, French counts maybe, but English should have been English barons or something. But
Bartolot was the name of one of our ancestors.
English ancestors,
and they were nobility.
Yeah.
Back in the old days.
So we auditioned on there. Then we played a dating game. The girls came and they asked questions, and we came up with the answers.
We gave them the answers
and all that. But I guess
we didn't pass.
We didn't pass.
You never made it on the show, but you went very far into the audition process under fake identities.
Yes. Yeah. We even made up composites with the name Nigel Bartolot and James Bartolot on it, and
that's brilliant.
It is. Why didn't YouTube exist then? You could have had hidden cameras. It would have been amazing. Like, watch them crash a dating game.
Yeah, I wish we got on, Maybe we would out of date.